Hello, welcome to Be Still and Know. This week, I'd love to talk a little bit about our Adoration Chapel. I want to just let you know that we were incredibly successful in the campaign that we had over the past few months. We had started the campaign with 187 empty time slots. So by that I mean that's a time slot that had nobody. Like we need at least two people for per time slot. I'll explain that in a little bit. So if we say that two people per hour is what we're looking for, we had 187 slots. So we had some hours that had nobody adoring, and then we had a lot of hours where there was a single adorer. And so we were trying to fill all of those slots so that we have a minimum of two adorers per hour. And we did so we had 187 of those slots, and we filled 115. That's really phenomenal. 72 slots still need to be filled and are still available, but they're all single slots. So there's all hours where there's at least one person, and we would really love two people in each hour. And I'll explain that a little bit, but back to the success of the campaign, phenomenal. Like I knew our parish could do it when we, pushed for it, and I knew they would step up and just kind of meet the need as best they could. So we have, new people doing holy hours that have never done it before and are just absolutely loving it. I hear comments all the time. Father, I never knew how great, holy hour was in front of the Blessed Sacrament until I actually did it. Our chapel is so beautiful, like all these things. And so we're very thankful for that. I mean, our chapel is really beautiful if you've never seen it. That was one of the blessings of COVID lockdown was we were able to do some painting in there and re-cushion the chairs and kneelers and hang the Stations of the Cross and redo some lighting. And so it just is a really beautiful space. So if you haven't seen it, please check it out and then maybe commit to an hour. We've established a really easy to use online system where you can sign up and even request, subs when you're not able to make your hour. But, really the Adoration Chapel has been for the last 25 years something very unique to St. Patrick's and a real blessing. So we thank you so much for your participation in that. It is a great place to pray for vocations, something we need very desperately in our parish now. There are established deanery adoration chapels for praying for vocations. We are not our deanery's vocation chapel, adoration chapel. St. Teresa's in New Cumberland um, is our county and Perry County um, adoration chapel that's designated to pray for vocations. There's one in each deanery, 7 deaneries of the Diocese of Harrisburg. And so, but because our adoration chapel preceded those appointments, we were given permission to continue, especially because of our distance from St. Teresa's. We're a good 20, 30 minutes from there. And we had already pre-established an adoration chapel. And so they allowed us to continue, but know that St. Teresa's also has, if you're in the area of New Cumberland, a beautiful adoration chapel there, and you can go and pray there as well. So just to give you kind of a little history of our beautiful adoration chapel, that is really great. So I want to kind of share with you like why we push so hard for two adores at each hour, and it really comes from the criteria for being for having perpetual exposition of the Blessed Sacrament. And this criteria is established by the bishop of the diocese. And so I'm going to read you a paragraph from that criteria that kind of shows the emphasis on why two adores per hour, even in the wee hours of the morning. So the parish must ensure the pastor that there will never be a time when the Blessed Sacrament exposed for adoration is without persons at prayer, right? So that's kind of why the two, right? So that if the two are there and one of you has to go to the bathroom or take a break to blow your nose or something or step outside, then the other adorer is still there so that there's never a time when the Blessed Sacrament exposed for adoration is without a person at prayer. That is kind of the ultimate goal. If there are periods when the Eucharist is without persons at prayer, or if other abuses are noticed, the pastor has the authority to immediately stop perpetual exposition. I don't want to do that as pastor, right? I don't want to have to stop perpetual exposition. So that's why we need to kind of keep that's why this drive was so important, because we were kind of dwindling in our numbers, and there were a lot of hours where the Blessed Sacrament was, forced to be reposed because no one was in front of it. And we really, really don't want to do that. So the paragraph continues, there are 168 hours in each week for the smooth running of the adoration program. Many more than 168 people will be needed. If possible, at least two adorers for each hour, especially during the night, should be scheduled. So I think it emphasizes, especially during the night, that we need two or adorers scheduled just out of security purposes and because of the lateness of the hour. And, again, because of that, if one needs to take a break or step out, then the other one is there. Also, I mean, to be honest, I think partially the reason this is there is there's a good chance your partner might not show up just because they overslept. It's 2 a.m. and they didn't hear their alarm, or they hit it and went back to sleep. And so at least the other adorer will show up, or at least that's the goal. But that, especially during the night, should there be two adorers scheduled, is I think why they emphasize that. So it continues, there should always be a sufficient number of people present for Eucharistic adoration before the exposed Blessed Sacrament, in an effort to emphasize the Eucharist as being the source and summit of the whole of the Church's worship and of the Christian life. The pastor may also ask those involved to pledge an hour of service within the community in order to keep a proper balance between worship and service, the contemplative and active life, right? That's a great kind of emphasis, right? The balance between prayer and work, right? If Saint Benedict, ora et labora, right? Pray and work. So we should, you know, if the like, I don't want to say this negatively, but like if the only thing you're doing at St. Patrick's is in 1 or 2 hours of adoration a week, and you're not in some way serving the church, then you don't have that balance. And we really need that balance in our lives of serving the church, helping the church grow, right? And prayer. Like they're both very important aspects of church life, and we need to kind of emphasize that. So, like, a great story, I'll tell you a quick great story. A lady came into our office this week, 91 years old. She'd married 70 years, and she wanted to see the Shrine Church because that where she was married by Monsignor Schmidt. So that was pretty long ago. But we took her over and opened the door, and she went in and walked around with her son. And then I hopped over just to kind of say hello and greet her and thank her for being here. And she just kept telling story after story of St. Patrick back in those days. So that would have been Monsignor Schmidt is the pastor that built Eleanor Regina in 19 was 77 years ago. So and she was married 70 years ago. So she has a lot of her memories about how St. Patrick's was the center of her life. Her family did everything at St. Patrick's, right? They went to church there, they volunteered there, the kids went to school there. Like St. Patrick's was really the center of their lives. And that's because people were active and praying back then. And that's two things we, need to continue to keep focusing on as a parish, right? Being active in our life with the church and praying, hard for our community and our families. And so that's why the Adoration Chapel is such a blessing to us, so that we do have a central location to pray and focus on prayer. That's really in the heart of our community. It's in the center of Carlisle downtown. And so we can pray for our families and our community and our parish, but we can also be active and going out, part of the purpose of the church, right? Gather, connect, serve, and go out. So, right, the gather, that's part of the prayer of the Adoration Chapel. And then the going out and serving and connecting, helping our church grow and our community grow, kind of go together. They're not separate things, they're together things. That's why St. Benedict says, ora et labora, right? Work and labor, or prayer and labor, prayer and work. And we should be focusing on that in our daily lives. So, I hope you can do that. I hope you can sign up for an hour and fill those last 72. It'd be amazing if we could get 2 per hour for the whole week. Would be such a blessing. So please consider that if you haven't already. If you can't commit to an hour, I highly encourage you to come visit the chapel during the day and check it out just to see how beautiful it is. Right across the hall is the church library, which is, in my opinion, one of the best church libraries in the deanery. So I'd encourage you to check that out as well, because it's such a blessing to our parish. So now, some events coming up. We have a family movie night. Watch out for the dates for that. Long term, the Christmas craft show is coming in December, so keep your eyes out for that. Um, we have St. Monica Solemn Vespers next Wednesday, I believe that is. So check that out. Just a lot of things going on in the parish, always and every day. So check the website, social media, the bulletin for all the things going on. Thank you so much for all you do. God bless you. I love you all. Have a great week.